Good morning. Welcome to Daily Covfefe with Carter and Carrie on Unsafe Space. Today is Friday, July 12th, and we thank you for tuning in. And we thank you guys, especially this week. We had higher view count this week, which is cool. So thank you for watching and sharing.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of it was due to the haters who
Thank you, haters. No,
how racist we are for just existing and having an opinion about anything.
See, I like that this is something you said. I like that we had those particular haters this week. Well, A, because that means our videos are getting out beyond our audience, but B, because you got to see in the comments some excellent examples of the way all the stuff we talk about, how SJWs think. They say the most racist things while calling you a racist.
Yeah. And they're a lot angrier. Like I don't see, I mean, maybe just because we're in like a little echo chamber ourselves, but I don't know. I can't imagine our followers going over to like Vox's channel and be like, fuck you, racist. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see that.
They are, this is just a generalization, but again, based on my experience, there's a lot of hatred there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of toxicity. And I think it's that same thing we've talked about where it's projection, and it's when all you do is focus on the outside and you project everything onto other people. There's no introspection or work on yourself. Like it's easy to just become a jerk even when they think they're doing good, while they're in there calling people names and being hateful and saying very racist things.
Yes. I didn't want to say projection because I feel like it's overused, but you're right. I think it's overused because it's so accurate. It's almost everything. Even that sign you were mentioning, like in this house, we believe, blah, blah, like a lot of that is just projection on, like, no one disagrees with you on.
Yes.
Like, it's like, no, there is no cabal of like racist old white guys in a smoky filled cigar room trying to figure out how to keep the black man down. And like, that doesn't, I mean, maybe there's some room somewhere in the country, but it's like, it's not normal.
It's projection on what they're trying to say that all of you people believe because you don't have this sign.
Right.
And
yeah.
So I have an idea. I may have told you this off camera, but we should do this now that we have a store. I came up with an idea for a sign because I want to put these signs up in other like in my yard and other yards, or we could sell them. And it's gonna like the same font and everything, but it says like, in this house we believe murder is wrong. You know, like who doesn't believe murder is wrong? It's like all this Black Lives Matter. Yeah, of course. Like women are people. That's what it says. Women are people.
I kind of want one that just says, in this house we believe. And then we can just list the first 10 amendments to the Constitution.
Okay, we've got 3 then, because I have the murder is wrong idea. You've got that one, and then I've got one where I take the actual sign and put little caveats under each one.
Oh, that's good. I like the caveat one. You know, I know this is rambling today, but it's Friday, so whatever. The EFF used to have these. I used to carry this around when I flew a lot, especially post 9/11 when security got tightened, and I'm completely opposed to the police state, and I think the terrorists basically won on 9/11 because they caused us to give our freedoms up, and that's kind of the goal. But EFF used to make this little metal placard that you could fit right in the pocket of your shirt, and it just had the Fourth Amendment on it, and the whole purpose of it was to set off the detector so that the TSA person would have to like pull it out and look at it, and it's the Fourth Amendment, which I think was awesome. I used to love that thing, but it might have had all the amendments. It might have had all the the whole Bill of Rights. I'm not sure, but I always thought of it as just the Fourth Amendment. It probably should have just been the Fourth Amendment.
That's a funny idea.
Anyway,
I like it.
We should talk about something of substance today, other than our lawn sign ideas and Fourth Amendment placards.
Substantial.
I don't know. Gary, Yesterday Trump had a social media summit at the White House. This was the thing that Tim Pool was invited to, among others. And of course, the mainstream media was feeling butthurt that they weren't really invited, I'm sure.
You're going to have to give me the skinny because I have not had time to look at anything since.
So Trump wanted to have this social media summit, but he didn't invite Facebook and Google. He didn't invite the Twitter. He invited people like Tim Pool. He didn't invite like Milo. He should have invited Milo and people like that, but he didn't do that. He invited Tim Pool and I think Sebastian Gorka and a couple other people that are. I think maybe he might have invited like the Gab people or the Parlay. I think Gab didn't go, but Minds did and Parlay did. He invited some of the kind of second tier social media execs plus people like Tim Pool who are reporting and that kind of thing.
So I think that was smart that he didn't invite Milo, but go ahead. Because then every headline would have been about Milo and it would have been a huge, I think what he did was strategic. You invite.
No, I just want him to have invited Milo. I get why he didn't invite Milo. But we love you, Milo.
Do we?
You know what? I disagree with him about a whole bunch of stuff. I love how much of a provocateur Milo is. And the best thing about Milo is how much the left hates Milo.
I do like him.
Yeah.
Love is a strong word. I like Milo a lot.
Okay. Whatever. I know.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm not proposing to Milo.
No, I like him.
Anyway, Trump had this social media summit and he did not release a complete list of who was invited and who was there, which also is pissing off the legacy media, of course. But maybe he did invite Milo. Maybe Milo was in the back room and they the cameras left and we don't know. I don't know. So anyway, nothing really happened too much. I mean, he made some comments that were generic and complained that, Twitter's messing with me and kind of talked about how he noticed some counts changing and not doing what they used to do, whatever. But to me, the interesting thing is there's a disappointing angle to this, and actually I can end on an uplifting angle to this. But the disappointing thing is let's take a look at how the mainstream media is reporting on this. So here's NBC News.
Wow. I mean, okay, I should stop being surprised, right? But this is everything we talk about. This is so friggin' biased. They're telling
the power of extremist social media activists at White House summit.
Extremists? Tim Pool?
Just you wait, Carrie. So, yes.
Tim Pool is a liberal.
Right. The president blasted social media companies for terrible bias and accused them during remarks at the White House on Thursday of manipulating his content. Okay. I know it's a pain to go through, but let's just read this whole thing. President Donald Trump blasted disgraceful social media companies for terrible bias and accused them without evidence of manipulating his content during a summit at the White House on Thursday, touting his massive online following and praising conspiracy theorists and far-right agitators alike. Now, let's pause here.
One comment.
I'm going to make this bigger so people can see it.
I have a comment already.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is what they do a lot. And if you start to notice this, they'll tell you what happened. They won't give you a quote. They just told us that, but they didn't use any quote of his. They just say he praised conspiracy theorists. What did he say?
Right. And not only that, they're just calling people conspiracy theorists also, but they say that he did it without evidence. Now, I watched only a portion of his thing. He actually did present evidence. It's not convincing, it's evidence, but he did talk about, well, when I used to tweet, this is how the numbers would go. They would go up in this manner, but now when I do it, they go up and then they go back down, which is weird. How does that happen? And he presented granted it was, not scientifically valid, but it was stuff that he's noticed.
It's
that is called evidence. It's not.
It's his lived experience, Carter.
Yeah, right. So look, it's not evidence that's like damning. It's just this guy says this happens. Fine. But it's not like he just said it for no reason. And frankly, this is implying that he needs to present evidence. There have been months and months, years of evidence being collected. Like, we all have been talking about this. This has been part of the zeitgeist for a long, long time, NBC. It's like saying, President Donald Trump today said that there were clouds in the sky without evidence. It's like, yes, without it. Just look at the fucking sky. There are clouds. Like, this is not a, but it makes it sound like he's, it makes it sound like he's
a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, and conspiracy theorists and far-right agitators. Now, keep in mind, far-right is anyone to the right of Bernie Sanders in there. Okay.
Yeah, they would put us in with far-right, and you guys watching us know we're neither of us are far-right.
Right.
Tim Pool's sitting there at the table. I'm sure there are other liberals there.
Right. So he says, you have a lot of power and you have to use it wisely. Trump said to several hundred conservative digital. So this is not true. Conservative digital and social media professionals in attendance before celebrating their work extensively. So these weren't conservatives. Some of them were, but not all of them.
Conservative doesn't mean far right.
Also true. Thank you, Carrie. Yeah. You communicate with our citizens without going through the fake news filter, the tweeter-in-chief said. This is their, he's using Twitter. The crap you think of is unbelievable. Now, this, by the way, that line, the kind of snide tweeter-in-chief line, to me, that just reeks of, you are a dinosaur. You are an old dinosaur. It's not snide to call him tweeter-in-chief. Like, most of us are like, yeah, of course he tweets. It's 2019. This is how you communicate with people. Everyone tweets. That, like, tweeting doesn't make you less of a president.
It's also, is this in the opinion section or the news section? Because it's also telling us right there, like, they're looking down their nose at him. I could not imagine them saying that about Obama.
Right. So this is in the news section. This is not opinion. This is their coverage. This is their objective coverage of the event.
Objectively, these are far-right activists he's talking to.
Yes. The president spoke to the historic, put historics in quote, the president spoke to the historic nature of the gathering, taking repeated shots at the mainstream press and praising the people in the room who challenged, quote, the media gatekeepers. Right. So this is why their ire is raised here.
They put that in quotes. They don't believe that they're a media gatekeeper.
Right. Yeah. We're not the media gatekeeper. Well, you know what? They're not, because, I mean, they are gatekeepers, but people have gone around the fence another way. Like this, their little fiefdom is shrinking, but they're still manning that gate.
Well, you know who's manning it? The media gatekeepers now are the media companies, the ones who are trying to tell us, no, you have to keep getting all your news from places like ABC and legacy media, like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Those are the gatekeepers now.
Yes, NBC doesn't want to admit that. Although, in interestingly enough, I think Facebook and Twitter are, I think part of their strategy is by not trying to defeat legacy media, but by aligning with legacy media, they will be able to claim that they are objective by just saying, well, we're passing, we're letting the traditional mainstream objective media do the filtering for us. So it's not our bias, right?
They're both doing that. They're
right.
They're saying we're going to prioritize legacy media and we're going to let them decide what's truth. And legacy media is saying, well, it's not us. They're the ones choosing us. And it's just this right. Back scratching.
Okay. So in recent years, complaints from conservatives of unfair treatment by major tech companies have grown from murmurs into a cacophony of complaints. The word cacophony is intentionally chosen, by the way. It will grown from murmurs into a cacophony of complaints that now includes the president and other major Republican politicians. This phrase, this cacophony of complaints, it's intended to make it sound like there are discordant and confusing and not really supported by evidence. It sounds like you imagine like a gaggle of geese.
It's a lot of voices all over.
Oh, there's stuff going on. Who cares what they're saying? It's just a cacophony, right?
It's like a banquet hall full of sorority girls.
Right. They could have easily said, has grown from, murmurs, or they could have used other words there, into, substantially supported arguments that have been verified over and over again with the same story, right? Like, oh, there's more and more evidence has been gathered. That's why this has gotten to be bigger. Okay. Some have threatened to put forward legislation on the topic, though none has yet become a serious threat to the companies. Several of the social media personalities who attended Thursday's event are known, this is the best, are known for spreading false information or trafficking in harassment, which some disinformation researchers call incredibly toxic. Some disinformation researchers.
I thought the legacy media was banned from this.
Hold on, let's see. Yeah, exactly.
Spreading disinformation, harassing citizens.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who harassed the Covington kids?
Exactly.
Who spread disinformation?
Right. But they're going to prop this up by an objective opinion. Ready, Carrie? Here we go. Hours before the meeting, the Southern Poverty Law Center called the meetup a gathering of groups and individuals who have no business at the White House, saying the invite list included conspiracy theorists and extremists.
That group, I'm sure our viewers know, but anyone, if this gets out beyond our audience, that group, if any of you haters are watching, it's lost its way. It's not what it used to be. The Southern Poverty Law Center, whenever I see that now, I'm immediately like, no credibility in what they're about to say.
If anyone quoting the SPLC is a hack. An absolute hack. That organization exists to be able to lend some type of, simply to lend credibility to. It's the same way SJWs point to someone like Peggy McIntosh and say, look, this is academic, it's true. Like, they point to that organization, but it's not what it used to be. They put people like Ayaan Hirsi Ali and Majid Nawaz on an Islamophobia list. They made them subject to death threats from radical Islamists. These are people who Majid, he is Muslim. He's a Muslim reformist. He's an Uncle Tom Muslim, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, they put people like Christina Hoff Sommers on misogynist, like men's rights activist lists. They make people who are wrong thinkers the target of not just hatred and not just defamation, but of, in some cases, like death threats.
Yeah, the Southern Poverty Law Center is a hate group, in my opinion. So
you should also look at where they're putting your money if you donate to them. Like, just Google it. They have put a lot of money into offshore accounts.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
What?
Don't donate to them.
What?
Don't donate to them.
No, I'm saying anybody who is. Just look up where they've been putting your money. It's in a lot of offshore accounts. Yeah,
and they've had a lot of heads roll recently because of sexual harassment allegations and stuff. Anyway, here's the next quote from the SPLC is here's the kicker. This is from the SPLC. Quote, "For years, we've watched social media serve as a gateway to radicalization and, far too often, real-life violence. Bringing these groups together is beyond irresponsible. It is essentially conducting a hate summit at the White House." A statement from the SPLC reads.
I have an answer for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is radicalizing people into the SJW left. And yes, it is leading some of them into actually committing violence and becoming part of Antifa. And yes, those who aren't committing the violence, it has radicalized some of them to defend that violence and to try and make excuses for it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Antifa. That's exactly true.
But that's not what they mean.
Okay, so here we go. Now, I don't know all these people, so I can't defend them, but I'm going to guess. I mean, we know who Tim Pool is, but here they go. Attendees include right-wing personalities Ali Alexander, who has pushed the false conspiracy theory that the California-born Senator Kamala Harris was not an American black.
Oh my gosh, Ali is black. Okay. And he's not far right wing. And you may or may not agree with him, but he's defining his terms because she is not from his point of view, she's in, one of her parents is Indian.
Her dad is Jamaican.
And the other's Jamaican. And so his point was, in his opinion, and he's explained it and defended it. And actually, Don Lemon has said the same thing on CNN in the past, that she's not American Black. But because he said it, they're trying to attack him and take him down. Anybody who hasn't looked into it, look into it. He's a Black guy. He's a conservative. He's basically saying, but she's not what we know of as like American Black. She's African American.
Like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he's saying she's Jamaican and she's Indian.
Right, and he means like she's not, when we think of American Black, obviously she is American, and she has darker skin, so she's Black. So American Black, yes, she is an American Black, but what he means by that is when we think of that, we think of, especially in these talks about reparations, we're thinking of descendants from slaves, people who suffered historically, whose ancestors were slaves and who suffered in that way and have been part of the American fabric since the beginning, but were oppressed and enslaved.
And that's not her.
At all.
And that's not her. And that was his point. And you may or may not agree with him about what terminology he's using, but the fact that they're saying that's a conspiracy theory, that's his opinion and his explanation of why he's using the word he is using and his definition of terms. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's true that her parents are Indian and Jamaican. Right.
And frankly, the way that they word this, right, it makes you think of like the birther conspiracy and that kind of thing. It makes you think that, oh, this guy's out there saying she's like,
yeah,
I don't know, like she's born somewhere else secretly and, blah, blah. It makes it sound crazy, but it's actually quite well reasoned and makes perfect sense.
And up until Holly said it, Don Lemon agreed.
Right. Okay. So the next sentence, sorry. So they're listing people, Ali Alexander, Jim Hoft from the conspiracy website Gateway Pundit. Now, I don't know Gateway Pundit. I've seen some things in Gateway Pundit. I don't know. I don't think it's a conspiracy website. It might be. I don't know. But I don't think anyone in the mainstream media, after babbling about Russia for 18 months, can really claim that some other website is a conspiracy website, unless the Gateway Pundit is publishing things about, secretly we're run by, an alien cabal from Jupiter. Then I don't have any less credibility than NBC.
No, I don't read them regularly, so I can't speak with any certainty. But what the things I have read from them, I've read some pieces. They have not been conspiracy pieces. They are a site, from the best I can tell from what I've read, that they tell you up front, like a lot of the conservative or right-wing sites do, that they have a point of view, and you know what that point of view is when you read their pieces, but they're not publishing stuff about like aliens or birther or whatever.
Right. Well, and the last one they list, which Carrie, you'll just love it.
Oh no.
And YouTube personality Tim Pool, who has pushed the false conspiracy theory that murdered DNC staffer Seth Rich leaked hacked emails to WikiLeaks. Now,
you go ahead first.
Well, first of all, Tim, like any journalist, tries to get out in front of the news and be one of the first people reporting on things. There was a lot of speculation because Seth Rich's death is quite odd. He was supposedly murdered as part of a botched robbery, but nothing was stolen from him, including his wallet and watch and all that kind of thing. And at the time, I don't know what they're talking about. I know Tim, I can guarantee you Tim Pool is not pushing the conspiracy theory. He may have said, I wonder if this happened. And there's evidence that it happened. There is evidence that makes it look strange and weird. But that is not, every news organization does that. When there's a story that comes out, they say, well, here's some evidence. This makes it look weird, blah, blah, blah. And then they investigate and maybe they change their minds. And as more evidence comes to light, the other thing I want to point out, though, is no one writing this actually knows whether or not Seth Rich leaked the emails to WikiLeaks. They'll all say that they know that it didn't happen because the federal government and the FBI has said, no, we know how these emails happen and we know how the DNC server leak happened and blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, the FBI never got a chance to examine the servers. They never examined the servers. I can't stress this enough. DNC did not let the FBI examine the servers. They hired their own private little firm to give them a report about what happened. That firm said, oh, it was the Russians. And that is the basis for all of this. Now, the fact that the FBI said, okay, we'll trust this firm, that doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean that the FBI has independently determined what happened. We don't know. So it's not, I mean, is it a conspiracy theory? I don't know. It's a theory, and we don't know what the truth is. That's for damn sure. But Tim Pool is not out there, pushing, he's not like a 9/11 truther. He's not out there pushing weird conspiracy theories about, Hillary Clinton's body count and blah, blah, blah. He just does normal reporting. And at some point during the beginning of this, he probably speculated or reported that there was evidence that maybe Seth Rich was involved somehow in this.
That's how
conspiracy theory.
That's not. This is how this works. So they especially, he's become, I think, one of the new number one targets because he is so effective and because he's a liberal. He came from the Occupy movement. Okay. This guy is on the left. And because he is such an effective wrong thinker, it's harder for them to tar him as far right, although they're trying. And you see they include him in this list that they're calling far right. They have to make sure that the zombies in the SJW world don't, and the ones that read SJW media and don't realize they're reading this, what they're being told to believe. They have to make sure they don't actually ever watch his video. So they're doing what they've done. There's a blueprint for this. They did it to Milo. They start with people. They've done it to Alex Jones. They keep expanding who they're going to do it to. So now they're doing it to liberals like Tim Pool because it works, because they tell you what to think about these people and you never actually watch their videos for yourself. And so they could have taken, like you said, who knows what he mentioned about, it could have been as simple as like, somebody should look into this, which I think they should. I think it's fishy too. It is fishy. So this is how this happens. If our channel ever becomes big, to discredit us, they could take something as simple as this episode where we say, we think it looks fishy, and be like, they push the conspiracy theory of Seth Rich, and make you think that we're sitting here every day, like talking about like Seth Rich, right. Like that's how they do it.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to point out, which is subtle, I want people to when people read stories or listen to stories from the mainstream or what we'll call the legacy media, I want you to pay attention to every single word choice because it's important. Tim Pool is described here as YouTube personality Tim Pool. He is not a fucking YouTube personality. He's a goddamn reporter, NBC.
He's a journalist.
Reporter, and he's better than you.
Yes.
He's got more views. He's better at objectively telling us what's going on. He breaks stories better than you do. He is a reporter and he's kicking your fucking ass. He is not a YouTube personality. He's not teaching you how to put on makeup. He is a reporter.
Yeah, that's the way they try to denigrate these people. And in actuality, I mean, he does investigative reporting. He goes into the field with a GoPro camera. He does what we used to think of as actual investigative journalism, which they don't do.
Yes.
These people are in the narrative creating business.
Yes.
It would be more accurate to call them legacy media personalities. I don't know.
These are legacy media. I don't know, script writers.
They're narrative mouthpieces.
Yeah, and they're desperate. They're freaked out because Tim Pool fucking is going to eat their lunch.
Right. If they don't kill him like they did Seth Rich, that's a joke. That's a joke. Yeah. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Far right YouTube personality Carrie Smith pushes known conspiracy theories. All right. Trump also took several minutes to congratulate White House social media director Dan Scavino, who has been part of his inner circle since before the administration. I think Hillary had 28 people, and I had Dan, right? I had my Dan, Trump said with a laugh. Coincidentally, Twitter was down for 45 minutes, blah, blah, blah. We don't have, that doesn't matter. The White House did not distribute a full list of participants ahead of the event, but large social media companies such as Twitter, Facebook, and Google said they were not invited to attend. After the session wrapped, officials still declined to provide a complete list of attendees, which is, pissing these people off. And I mean, I don't, we could read some more about this. It's just not worth it. They're talking about, President said he's going to have a meeting with the major social media companies now. He was vague about it. And the article kind of uses its normal methods of making him sound like an idiot or whatever. But the point that I wanted to make was this whole, the way they treated these people, the way they talked about this, the way they treated these people, specifically how they talked about Tim Pool, totally dishonest. So Carrie, I know that is maybe sad, right? That's a disappointing thing, although, what do you expect from NBC?
It's just, again, like I said, when you first pulled this up and showed me the headline, I keep thinking I'm going to stop. I should not be surprised, but it's so blatantly corrupt.
Yeah.
And to see that, just that bold-faced lie right there in a headline, and to know, I guess it bothers me, and I'm shocked. I'm not so much shocked that they're doing it. I'm shocked that they're so bold about it, and that people I know and respect in other areas of life read this and just swallow it. They just eat this crap. And
I think if someone, we should start shifting the culture to the point where if someone seriously quotes something like NBC or CNN, you just laugh in their face at them.
Like they commit genetic fallacy all the time. It's like their baby. You can't give them anything on the right, source on the right. They're like, oh, Breitbart, not going to read it. Yeah, okay, well, I read Salon and Huffington Post and Breitbart. Like, who cares? Just
right. Okay.
A quick thing about, because you were mentioning that last little thing about Trump and them helping Clinton or whatever. I don't know if you guys, I'm pretty sure you probably know this, but actually, I was looking for an article about it, and what did I find? Breitbart. It just so happens that there are some stories that the legacy media doesn't want to cover. And so it's hard to find links to those stories. Yeah. Like Google messing with algorithms in order to manipulate search results. But anyway, there was this story that came out last year about how there were dozens of former Clinton staff members who, after the campaign ended, went on to work at Google, and vice versa. Like before the campaign, there were lots of Google staff members who went to work for Clinton. There's this entire, they're in bed with the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Carrie, I think we can end on a slightly positive note, though.
Okay.
As horrible as that article was, here's NBC News' Twitter feed. They posted this article. Let's look at how the public responds to NBC News. You quote the SPLC like it isn't a hack organization.
Yay.
Is he talking about the white supremacists and Nazi man babies because they sure as hell are protected everywhere on social media? So there's like some comments like that. So they're on the NBC side, but most of the comments are like this: the SPLC is a radical organization itself.
Yes.
Most of them report facts, I would say, better than you guys. SPLC is a hate group. 12 Ways to Southern Poverty Law Center is a scam. SPLC is an absolute joke. Can't get enough of your guys' BS. I mean, really, come on. Have you watched Timcast?
I love this.
So this is the response. And this isn't a conservative posting the story so only the conservatives' followers are responding. This is NBC News' audience. This is their response. These are people who follow NBC News. So
I love this. I think there's a backlash brewing. There already was a backlash brewing. I didn't know about it because I was ensconced in my echo chamber, SJW echo chamber. But I think that backlash in part led to Trump being elected, but I think the backlash is getting much bigger now with like a lot
It's
of people.
absolutely getting bigger.
Yeah. You have
Yeah.
lefties like me being pulled in. You have normies who don't even pay attention to the media or to the news very much being pulled in now, maybe. Like,
Yeah, well, because I mean, and we've seen it, right? Where people are realizing the negative effects it's having on their actual life, either from what, as the crazy social justice ideology takes hold, it's harder to maintain peace at work. It's harder to, argue against anything that the school's doing with your kids. Like things are getting crazy, and normal people who are not, political pundits or don't want to pay attention to all of this stuff are being affected by it, and it's becoming obvious. And as soon as they look into it just a little bit, they see that NBC News is a sham, and they call them out on it. And so I think that response is a good sign. It's a good sign, because we can't expect, NBC News is the Scorpion. Scorpion does what scorpions do.
you saw I shared that again recently. It's a
I
great
didn't.
fable. Oh, you didn't? Oh,
No, but
I was sharing it about personal life things.
Oh.
Does people know the Aesop's fable about the frog and the scorpion? The frog and the scorpion come to the edge of the river, and the scorpion asks the frog, "Can I ride on your back across the river?" And the frog says, "How do I know you won't sting me?" And the scorpion's like, "Well, if I sting you, we'll both drown." The frog's like, "Okay." So he takes the scorpion across the river, and halfway across, the scorpion stings him. And as they're both drowning, the frog's like, "Why?" And the scorpion says, "Because I'm a scorpion. It's in my nature. It's what I do."
So NBC News, like legacy media, they're the scorpion. We can't expect them to change. They will do what they do. That's fine. What we can expect is that the frog wakes up and says no. And that's what's happening. That's what those comments, like, we're the frogs, right? Everyone else, we're all the frogs. And we can start looking at these scorpions and go, I'm not going to watch you. I'm not going to give you a ride across the river.
Quit being the frog. Quit being the clueless frog. This time it'll be different.
Right. It's what they do. But people are waking up, and I think that's great. So anyway, that's probably enough for today, Carrie. What do you think?
I think that's a good, succinct one. Happy weekend, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We're getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, and we're going to have a demonetized party when that happens. So,
yes.
Hear us, O YouTube machine learning algorithm. Please accept our humble sacrifice. We now conclude our reading of Peggy McIntosh's White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. This is the conclusion of a truncated essay. To redesign social systems, we need first to acknowledge their colossal unseen dimensions. The silences and denials surrounding privilege are the key political tool here. They keep the thinking about equality or equity incomplete, protecting unearned advantage and conferred dominance by making these subjects taboo. Most talk by whites about equal opportunity seems to me now to be about equal opportunity to try to get into a position of dominance while denying that systems of dominance exist. It seems to me that obliviousness about white advantage, like obliviousness about male advantage, is kept strongly enculturated in the United States so as to maintain the myth of meritocracy, the myth that all democratic choice is equally available to all, keeping most people unaware that freedom of confident action is there just for a small number of people, props up those in power, and serves to keep power in the hands of the same groups that have most of it already. Though systematic change takes many decades, there are pressing questions for me, and I imagine for some others like me, if we raise our daily consciousness on the perquisites of being light-skinned. What will we do with such knowledge? As we know from watching men, it is an open question whether we will choose to use unearned advantage to weaken hidden systems of advantage, and whether we will use any of our arbitrarily awarded power to try to reconstruct power systems on a broader base. Thank you so much, machine learning algorithm at YouTube, for letting us exist. Please do not demonetize or ban us.